Hello and welcome to the Third and Long podcast. As always, I am with Ollie Butler Henderson and apparently Batman. But
I think he's more Robin.
yeah, I mean, he's a sidekick that came on late. So,
Or is he the Joker?
Jans.
I think we go with the Penguin.
Oh my God!
Catwoman. It's got to be Catwoman, isn't it?
No, I take great offense to that. I take great offense to be called the Penguin because of my beaky nose. But gents, you need to remember this in honor of what's coming out this week and my one of my all-time favorite movie characters. But
The Little Mermaid.
No, we're talking about Michael Keaton's return to Batman. I can't wait.
I'm actually looking forward. I'm looking forward to see that myself. But we're not a film podcast. Not at the moment. We're not quite there yet.
Well,
we're an NFL podcast.
I mean, Phil tries, but
I know. How are we all, gentlemen?
He's a media teacher, so we'll let him go.
Yeah.
Good week. I mean, quiet week, really.
It has. It's been a very. I mean, there's obviously been a few bits and pieces regarding minicamp. The usual dramas of minicamp of people not turning up. But yeah, it's a not bad one to have around. It's not a bad little show.
The question is, do minicamps actually matter though? Can you read anything into minicamps?
I think you can in some ways, and it is a way for players to go, I'll tell you what, I'm worth this, give it to me.
Yeah, but it's also it's no contact, no pads. So what really can you learn from it? It's not a game situation.
I really think you can learn quite a bit, personally. I mean, yeah, it's great for the new guys. You get to actually know the route running. You get to know that. You get to learn how, especially it's good for the quarterbacks because you get to pick, you get to understand how your wide receivers run. So, if they're running a go route, are they going to literally just go full pelt and take their pace? Are they going to try and do steps to throw the DBs off and stuff like that? So for the teams, it is really, really, really important, I think, for them to, have mini camps, and it's great. And it's for the rookies, it's really good for the veterans going on to new teams. I think it's vitally important, and it's conditioning as well, more than anything else.
Do you think it'll affect the Giants not having a minicamp?
Yes.
Because the Giants had to cancel their minicamp due to the air quality in New York at the moment.
I think it will, but I do think they will reschedule. I think they'll be allowed to reschedule by the NFL because obviously it will affect them. You're losing 4 days, or in Patriots' case, 2 days because of media. Being told they can't do it because of naughtiness through last season and all that. Funny that they one of the days they're going to lose a media days, which is actually quite funny. But yeah, I think it does affect you because Danny Jones is not going to know how his new wide receivers run. It's not going to affect Barkley because he's not going to show up. No matter what. But yeah, it does affect teams. It will affect teams.
Speaking of media, the Patriots, I love that Bill Belichick, I'm not a travel agent comment.
That's the best that is a typical on to Cincinnati style comment, isn't it? So the story is, I don't know if everyone's heard or not, that Belichick was asked what DeAndre Hopkins' plans are while in New England. Gave a load of other things, but the main comment was, I don't know, I'm not his travel agent. And that is just a typical Belichick thing. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's worth minicamps are worth anything, Phil? Do you think they're vital?
I think they are, and the reason why is going back onto we're talking about playing American football, and what I used to look forward to playing at university was once a year before the season, often 2 weeks before the season started, we would have our mini camp where we would go away on Friday. We do intensive training on Saturday, and then we'd do some training on a Sunday, and then we'd leave and come back. And even though it's not necessarily going 100%, but like it's intense in the way of you're around your new teammates, you're learning new playbooks, you've got no out of distractions. So there's no like, oh, we've only got training because we need to go, we've got class, a little bit later, or we've got our girlfriends, or we've got to do some shopping. You're all there in one instance, and you're learning new playbooks. You're meeting the rookies, you're meeting new people on your team, you're meeting potentially new staff, and new head coaches and new training staff. So I think they are a necessity because it's your first introduction to who your new teammates are going to be for the next year, more or less. So I think they're massively relevant. And it always irks me because it always irked me when I played at university, and even though it's a completely different level. But like when a player no shows out of spite or I can't be bothered, it just kind of like gives you an irk of like, well, you're not committed to the team. That's what it always felt like to me. Like with somebody irked out, it's one thing not coming to a social, or one thing not coming to a training session, but like when you weren't coming to like training camp to spend time with your new brothers, your team, your teammates, and your coaches, you do take it personally. I always took it personally. Like, well, you think you're too good for us, but that's just my 2 cents.
Especially the players are holding that. They go on. I tell you what, we're not turning up because we're worth more money than they are.
Yes.
And it
really annoys me because I don't.
And it's always the like big leaders of the team that do that, and I'm like, you're not really being a leader here.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Aaron Donald's there. He's showing the rookies out what it's like, and he's showing them around the camp and all that. That's a leader. Matt Judon does exactly the same. He's there. Matt Judon's pretty much might as well be the GM for the Patriots, but that's what they do. They bring their leaders, encourage players to be better.
I'll tell you what, if Judon's not the GM, he's definitely the recruiter.
Oh God, yeah. Absolutely superb. I love it. There are, I wrote down a few other things and I forgot to bring it down because I'm a bit of an idiot. But yeah, I mean, there are been some key news. Obviously, Buda Baker's turn up, which is shock.
Yeah.
I'm a bit shocked on that one. I was expecting to hold out, but that shows a professionalism for a player who's contract. He wants a new contract. He wants his contract talked about. He wasn't happy with the terms that are set up in the renegotiation. And he goes, well, I'm going to turn up and I'm going to show what I can do and why I'm worth the contract I want. That's a leader.
Yeah.
The one I was most surprised about was Buda Baker.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just saying. Exactly.
Oh, sorry, it cuts out, and I didn't know you were talking.
You froze at that time.
Yeah. But Bosa again, he wants a new contract. He turned up but didn't participate.
I mean, what's your 49 mini camp been like? Is there any astounding news coming from it?
The main news I've got is that Donald's outperforming Lance.
The what, sorry? Yeah, so it seems like a weird... The talking point for the 49ers going into this off-season, or into the preseason, I should say, is who's going to be QB1 or who's going to be QB2. Because Brock Purdy's on course to, he's kind of looking really good. He's on a light throwing schedule at the moment in time. Kyle seems to be pretty happy with his progression. Whilst a lot of the Bay media, and we're going to talk about Grant Cohen in a second, Ollie Hope, they are very massively for Trey Lance, or they're massively anti-Trey Lance. It looks like they're already throwing the towel into this 23-year-old lad that he's a bust. So the words that I'm hearing is Sam Darnold is outperforming Trey Lance, but Trey Lance looks infinitely better than he was last off-season. So I think it's a long-term thing with Trey. I don't think he's even going to get a look in this year. Maybe Sam Darnold ends up being QB2. I mean, we'll see. I mean, he's only on a year contract. But yeah, it's going to be just a massive quarterback controversy. It's not going to be in the same vein as Young and Montana or Kaepernick and Smith, but you've got 3 quarterbacks who are vying to be starting. And you could probably argue one should be a lock-in. The other 2, the jury's still out, but Sam Darnold is going to want to be QB1.
Yeah, so from what I've heard, Purdy's set to be fully fit on August the 21st, which would probably give him preseason game 3, and then a couple of weeks before, or maybe 2 preseason game 2 and 3. I can't remember the exact dates. But yeah, that would be good. I think if he is fully fit, he will be QB1. But yeah, to be honest, I'm getting a bit sick of the quarterback talk because it was exactly the same last season, but just with Debo thrown in there. So I just think Darnold's only on a 1-year contract. So if he's QB2, we might need to look at extending his stay in the Bay.
So Darnold's there is to have that veteran head around. So this is my take on the Trey Lance situation from an outsider, from a non-Niners fan. Trey Lance has played 3 games in the NFL, 3 full games in the NFL. One wasn't under his style of offense at all. It was set up for a Jimmy G style of offense, and he struggled because it wasn't geared up for his style of offense. It was Jimmy Garoppolo offense, throw, run first. Throw the ball first, run second. Last year, he was in pretty much hurricane conditions in Chicago. Didn't really get a chance. So you can't really show what he can do. Second game, what was it? Midway through the first quarter, he broke his ankle.
It was towards the end of the first.
Broke his ankle. So he hasn't had a chance to show himself. He's going to get a 5-year contract. He's going to have that. He's going to have his 5th-year deal, no matter what.
I don't think we'll pick it up.
I think they will, because he hasn't been given a chance. Unless something drastically happens this year, I can't see. Because they're going to go, right, yes, he's all this and all this, but he's lost a year in his progression. He's lost a year in his progression. It's the same kind of thing as Mac Jones, but not because of an injury, or not because of poor coaching, but because of an injury. He's lost a season. He's effectively lost a season. So you're going to have to give him that 5th year to see what it's like, to give him those 4 years. Because this year, he's not going to be where he is, because you don't know if he's going to be nervous, if he's going to be worried. Is it going to be the same Trey Lance that we saw with that explosiveness running? We don't know.
But you need to remember that Trey Lance is a 3rd pick overall. So that 5th-year option is going to be expensive.
Maybe, yes, but it'll still be a rookie deal. And by then, Brock, you would know for certain if Brock is your number 1.
Yeah, my problem is, even though he's still on a rookie deal, it'll still be expensive if he's going to be a backup.
Maybe.
It'll still probably be north of 10 million.
So what do we make of Stefon Diggs missing day 1 and day 2 in Buffalo?
I think he was going to hold out the whole thing until it got blown up out of proportion.
I'm going to say it's screaming mental health.
Do you think?
I'm saying it's screaming mental health. Because his agent said he was in the building. But McDermott says it wasn't. So someone's lying. So it's obviously going to be the agent. But nothing's come of him holding out a deal. He's on good money. He's one of the higher paid wide receivers in the league. So he's on good money. And he's getting targets. He's getting everything he wants. He is the go-to guy in Buffalo. So I don't know why he would want to hold out for a contract or anything like that. I'm saying there is something to do with mental health. I don't know. There is something that says mental health towards it. I don't know what it is. It's just screaming. This guy isn't. There's something not quite right in his head. I don't know what you guys think of it at all.
You go
on, Ali. All right. So what I was kind of doing a bit of digging is it suggested that he was there and he got into some form of aggravated argument at some point backstage, whether or not it's in the locker room or an office building or what. And depending on where it's coming from, it's either he was asked to leave or he stormed out. So I think some form of argument or some form of altercation happened. And it's kind of just been blown out of proportion. Now, whether or not he's come back in when maybe a new contract or unhappy with the situation or unhappy with the Bills recruitment, because don't forget, I said on the pod here last season that the Bills were going to win the Super Bowl. They were going to go all the way. And by their standards, they didn't perform when there might even be this generation's Green Bay under Aaron Rodgers, where they kill it in the season, but they just bottle it in the post. And I really thought the Bills were going to do all that. And I think Stefan probably took it the hardest out of most people on that team. And I don't think he's come back in the best mental shape of that, because going from being, we're going to win, we are the best, to we're not the best, we're not even the second best. Hell, we might not have been the third or fourth best. And then you go, well, where's my team? Where's the building? We're supposed to be a win now team. So I can kind of understand maybe from that winner's mentality. Man, don't get me wrong, I said about when you skip out on training camp, it used to irk me, but I can also understand that winner's mentality where they were supposed to win the Super Bowl last year. Like they had that in their mindset that this was their year. So maybe it was just like you just blew up with somebody backstage. Might even blew up with one of the coaches or the general manager. So that's just my take on it. I think he might have been asked to leave more so than left himself.
So leading on from that, yesterday McDermott said the issue with Diggs was resolved.
Yeah.
So I feel like it probably was that argument whether he stormed out or was asked to leave is, well, we'll probably never know because we weren't in the room where it happened, as Hamilton would say.
Where it happened. The room where it happened.
Oh God, who's asked him to sing?
But I feel like the situation probably is resolved. He participated in the last 2 days of minicamp, and honestly, in the end, I think it's going to end up just being a bit of much ado about nothing.
Let's not forget he was part of the team that was a Minnesota Miracle. Okay, he then stood there and watched New Orleans Saints win a game that everyone expected the Vikings to win. He then stood and watched Kansas City celebrate their win when they wanted to win. He stood there dumbfounded at the end watching the celebration. He did the same again last year. He's always the last one to leave the pitch in playoffs. It hurts him a lot every time they're losing. And that's going to take a toll, something on the line.
I think he knows his window is closing.
Yeah.
He's getting on a bit. I mean, Josh Allen's still fairly young as a quarterback, and he is I want to say leader of this team, but he can't seem to get it done in the playoffs. So,
I think Josh Allen's window's closing. I mean, let's be honest. Like Pat Holmes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Burrow, Hubert, Purdy, just as an example. But like these are quarterbacks that are either the same age as him or younger that are performing now. So I think Josh Allen's window is also closing as well.
I could see a Josh Allen being Drew Brees or Big Ben situation where he's still got the ability, but his body will start to give up on him because he takes a lot of hits for the guy. He's a big guy, and he takes a hell of a lot of hits.
I do agree with this, but I don't think it's closing as quickly as Diggs is.
No,
Diggs turns 30 in November. I don't have Josh Allen's age in front of me, but he's going to be 26, 27?
Yeah,
I think he's 27.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not saying it's close. I mean, he's 27. Like he's younger than me and you, Ollie. But I just think with the talent at that position and the teams in those positions, I mean, I genuinely thought that last year was going to be their best year of winning everything. I mean, even with Von Miller, I mean, he's getting on in age. Stefan's going to be 30. They've got other players as well. They're going to be hitting their people, getting past.
Gabe Davis is still 29 as well, and he's the WR2. It's the window shutting. I mean, going back to the dynasties that was you guys in the 80s, us in the last couple of decades. There's always that core. But you're always rebuilding and bringing in younger guns, and it doesn't seem to affect. Can Buffalo do that? I mean, KC have been able to do that.
Can somebody remind me, because I'm totally blanking, did they take Mayo in round 1? Or was it Kincaid, or was it neither?
Oh, God, I can't remember.
It was a tight end.
Was it Kincaid?
I think it was. Yeah, I can't
remember. I remember Mayo went to Vegas, so it must have been Kincaid.
Yeah. I mean, so there we go. That's what that's what it shows. I mean, that is a starting to build, bring in young players. I mean, because Dawson Knox isn't young; he's past 30 now, surely. So let's bring another young tight end to replace an experienced tight end that we already have. So yeah, that's a good rebuilding. But let's look at KC at the moment. They're doing what New England did, not going out for the big name wide receivers, big name tackle, tight end, running backs. They're bringing in players that fits their offense or defense.
Yeah. I was about to say, I wouldn't be surprised if the players that they bring into KC over the next 5, 6 years are just scheme fit, and Patrick Mahomes is the battery that keeps them going. I wouldn't be surprised if they're just brought in like low key third round like studs, just to like those particular skill set positions. Exactly what Bill did in Buffalo. Sorry, not Buffalo, in New England. Sorry, I've got Buffalo in the brain. Yeah, I can see that because Kansas are slowly getting rid of some of their individual players, isn't it? Like they did that with Tyreek when they let Tyreek go to Miami. I think Kelsey is going to be Pat's Gronk if he's not there already. I mean, they're almost inseparable. I wouldn't be surprised that when Kelsey retires or starts slowing down, maybe Pat might not be as effective because Tom wasn't the same after Gronk left that year, and then he came back, and then Tom was great again, and then Gronk left again, and then Brady's final year in the Bay, in Tampa Bay, wasn't that productive. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But yeah, definitely drafting players, bringing players in that aren't your superstars, but they are scheme fitters, and hey, football's a team game.
You have those leaders in defense and offense. So, we had Brady on offense. We had George was always his go-to guy, Gronk. Now we've got David Andrews at the center from our offense. Yeah. We've got Jude on the defensive side of the ball. You've got those leaders, those commanders who will always be right. We're the bigger money guys. Yes, whatever. Mm-hmm. But we are the people that are here to help. We're going to make the glue of this team. We're holding this team together. We're going to show it. And that's what the veterans do. And that's how teams build around it. They put things, it's almost like kids when they make those macaroni pictures. If you go, I'm trying to put an analogy to it, but it's not quite working. When they like glue things together, and it's like that's what it is. They're the glue, and everyone sticks to it, and they become something better. That's what it is. Something's interesting. So there's a couple of rookies that are later picks that I've picked up that have is a bit interesting. That's putting veteran QBs under a little bit of pressure. So we've got Stenson in LA.
Oh, Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, who's absolutely balling out in LA.
Can I just talk about the Rams for a minute? Because it's something I've wanted to say for a while. I think they should play Stetson Bennett.
Go on. Yeah, go on then.
Matt Stafford's getting on a bit now. He was picked in 2009, so this is his 14th season.
Yep. I get that. I think they go one more season with Stafford. Don't forget, he's not long signed a brand new contract with them.
But wasn't it only a 2-year contract?
But it's still a big contract. So yeah, go one more season with him. Let Stenson sit behind someone who has done it and who, no matter what, is one of the toughest quarterbacks I've seen in this league. I mean, I've seen the guy play with a dislocated shoulder. In Detroit, he got absolutely mullered. He dislocated his shoulder. And he came back and finished the game and threw a Hail Mary to win the game. Stafford will be a great leader. He's not like Tannehill going, I'm not here to babysit. That's not his go-to. But he is a leader. So I think...
just while we're talking about the Rams, it wouldn't surprise me if another big player goes through the door like Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
Potentially even somebody like Donald or Cup.
Wow. I don't think Donald will go. Donald will be... He's on his last season. I think Donald will be gone at the end of the year. I think he'll retire. I think he'll call it a day. I'm surprised he carried on playing after the win of the ring. Hey, he's back. That was really freaky. You literally just staring and not blinking or anything. That was really freaky. So yeah, I think that's him. I think that'll be their superstars. The other one is O'Connell in Las Vegas. Yeah. Oh, there's a reaction. He is having. What I'm reading, he is outperforming anyone there, and he is gonna put on a lot of pressure onto Jimmy when Jimmy comes into.
I was about to say, but Jimmy isn't training.
Exactly. So he's gonna
So-
apparently he's gonna put a lot of pressure on. He's taking majority of the reps.
But you'd hope your rookie is outperforming. I can't remember who their third string is.
Agreed, but he's miles ahead of where they think he should have been.
Well, it's Brian Hoyer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You'd hope your rookie is outperforming Brian Hoyer, who's about 120 now. And probably is
37 actually.
He's probably got his Zimmer frame out on the field with him.
You know that Brian Hoyer is basically the quarterback coach for Las Vegas, because that's what he was pretty much last season when under for Mac. It wasn't official, but he is pretty much, the quarterback coach on the on-field quarterback coach where you talk to him. That's what he does. But obviously, like we said, we saw it with Brock last year. I mean, you said after week one, I don't expect him to be there. After week one of cuts.
After week one of training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't expect him to be there.
I really appreciate you tweeting that this week.
Yeah, of course. Hey, we've all got those ones. Mine's a certain ginger quarterback.
And the Browns. Don't forget the Browns too.
Mate, that was just the Browns capitulating on their own. That was nothing to do with my state. A lot of people said Browns could have been the quarterback Super Bowl team that year. But yeah, that's what it is. It's rookies doing a lot better than people expecting. You need a solid, good third QB, and it's shown in San Francisco. And that was a prime example.
I mean, if we had 4 last year, we might have made the Super Bowl.
Yep. And it looks like New England have found their replacement to Julian Edelman finally, and he was a quarterback as well.
Who's this?
Malik Cunningham. He has been lining up and running what used to be Julian Edelman's route.
Malik Cunningham.
Yep.
Louisville?
Alabama.
No.
Oh yeah, but he's from Alabama. He's from Alabama, but he's from Louisville. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he was an undrafted free agent.
I watched a bit of Louisville last year. And do you get a bit of a pop quiz for you? Do you guys know the current quarterback that came from Louisville who's in the NFL?
That is a certain. Oh, it's not Jackson, is it?
It is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it is Lamar. Yeah.
Lamar.
And watching him play in Louisville, it reminded me of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he's got that kind of umph about him, that swag.
Yeah,
I wish Shane was here because I'd love to get Shane's input on this, although he might not have seen Cunningham because he's not really a college guy. But I feel like Cunningham could be a good wide receiver or running back because he definitely has that speed and agility that I saw when he was running the ball as quarterback for Louisville.
So what's coming out of the training camp is that he's lined up in the dual positions. He's lined up in the slot. He's lined up on the outside as well, running those routes. Max throwing to him as well, which is quite a big thing. But Max throwing to it as well. He's also taking kick returns, and he is okay. Yes, it's non-contact. It's basically pro bowl football as we used to know it. But he is doing that run, so I could see him probably getting a roster spot as a special teamer, like Jules did back in 2011, maybe 29, maybe 2009, maybe I think it was, like that kind of role, and then grows into it. I mean, that's what players do, late 7th round picks. You get yourself into special team, you are in the roster. You've then got a chance to prove yourself Move up, move up. That's how you get into teams. Special teams are special players, as J Bell keeps saying.
Constantly.
All the time. What do you make of the Texans saying that the QB position's up for grabs between Davis Mills and Stroud?
I think it's all
I think that's fair. I think it's fair because Davis Mills had shown glimpses of potentially being a first stringer, like a starting quarterback, but then made the move to bring up CJ. So I think that's a fair. I mean, I think it could be live. I think it's going to be probably CJ that starts week 1, but I mean, I think the jury's still out on CJ. Sorry, the jury's still out on Mills. But I think it's fair. I mean, you want to see which quarterback is going to be the face of your franchise for the next 5 years, and I think that's a fair assumption. I mean, I saw Davis Mills a couple of times last year play really well, and then I saw him putting some absolute stinkers, and that's why the Texans were where they were. I'm not saying he is the only reason, but he was a small contributor to their tanking. But at the same time, I've seen him play really, really well. So what do you want to do this next year on? Because they're still in that rebuild. So are you still going to play Davis Mills out because he was drafted the same year as Jalen Hurts and Fields and Lance? And at one point, he looked to be the best out of all of them. No, Hurts didn't go last year, did he? No.
No,
2004. It was 21 they went, so it was like it was the year of Lance, Mac, Trevor,
Wilson. Yeah. So at one point when Davis was drafted, I generally thought that he was probably going to be he was playing the best football out of all those quarterbacks that got drafted that year. And then last year he absolutely stunk. He didn't really show development, but then the coaching situation in Houston itself. But yeah, it's I think it's game on. I think it's probably a very interesting development over there in Houston, probably a little bit more than what's happening on in the Bay.
I think that if there is a quarterback competition, CJ Stroud is starting light years ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's closer than people think it is. Let's not forget, as Davis Mills in 2021, 2 years ago, was touted as, in some mock drafts, as being a first-round pick.
Did he not go first round?
He went third. He was the Texans' first pick. He went third round, so he went.
I had in my head he went late round.
So he has, a lot of people are not. These are not like us, like fan base mock drafts. These are like Trace didn't have it and all that, but it's that these are NFL professional pundits.
Yeah.
Who know what they're on about and obviously talking. And people obviously said this, this guy's an outside third rounder. Or first rounder, sorry. So, and he's gone to the third round, so you've got to steal with him. I think there's something there. I mean, Davis Mills, back end of season 1, got better and better each time he threw.
Yes.
Each game. The end of the season, he was in the top 5 for a lot of the stats in the NFL, or for QB stats.
I mean, let's not forget then that week 18, where Texans beat the Colts, I think it was like 32-31. It came straight down to the wire. And you see Davis Mills, and he's like giving the talk at the end of the game, and he's like passionately leading the team. I mean, he's in the middle of that huddle, and he's talking to them. And he was like, he said afterwards, like his best football days are still ahead of him. Now, he has shown absolute glimpses, but they have bet the short-term to mid-term future on CJ being a baller. But going into camp, you'd probably think that Davis Mills might fancy his chances going into that as a starter. But, I mean, we'll know when, the season 1 kicks off because, as much as I like preseason and those preseason kind of games, they kind of ultimately mean nothing as soon as the ball is kicked in week 1. So we'll see. I think it's something for us to actually really, really follow and develop. But I wouldn't be so sure that they're just going to can Davis Mills instantly. I think he's got a real chance this year to really show what he's got, whether or not it's in Houston or to potential suitors in 24-25.
Yeah, I mean,
just a quick question. Who are the wide receivers in Houston? Because they've traded Cooks.
Good question. Well presented. Let me bring that up for you.
We've got Alan Bachman, Noah Brown, Jalen Camp, Nico Collins, Nathaniel Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, Johnny Johnson, Johnny McKechnie, Amari Rogers, Stephen Sims, and Robert Woods.
So Noah Brown, Amani Rogers, good quarterbacks, good wide receivers probably. Nathaniel Dell, I've seen some of the catches from him. He looks like he could be a really good wide receiver.
To be fair, Nico Collins looked good last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
John Mechie the third. He is a good quarterback. He's an Alabama quarterback, wide receiver. Why am I saying quarterback a lot? Wide receiver. He's played under an Alabama, so you've got and he was a starting Alabama quite a bit.
Can I just say as well, just looking at that roster, especially on offense, the majority of their players are between the ages of 24 to 28. That's a young team. David Jones is 24, Backman's 27, Brown's 27, Cam's 23, 24. So Nico Collins is 24. They've got a really young team. They are definitely invested in their rebuild.
I think whether it's Davis Mills or CJ Stroud, I think having a better than average running back, like I believe Damon Pierce is, will really help.
Yeah.
And they got Devin Singletary as well, so they've got two good running backs.
But
they've also got a couple of really good leaders.
They've got one good running back and one mid running back.
Shaq Mason's a very good leader on that O-line.
Yeah.
Very good, experienced person on that O-line. Lammy Tunstall isn't a bad left tackle.
He's a good left tackle.
Juice Suggs is a good center. So you've got the makings of a good team there. I don't see them being number one pick. Sorry, Arizona. I still think that's going to be you.
Yeah.
It's harsh to say people like that because no one's kicked the ball yet in anger, but that's what I see.
No, it doesn't have to be in anger though. It could be in happiness too.
I could see this being the start of Houston's build, like that season when Baker went into Cleveland.
Was that the year Baker actually played well?
Yeah, his first season.
Okay.
And his second season. He played well the second season when he got into the playoffs. So I think this is where they are now. They're gonna get 6 or 7 games, I think. Not quite enough. They're not going to finish fourth in the AFC. But I still don't think they'll catch Jacksonville. I think that's Jacksonville's division this year for at least 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, Texans, Titans, and Colts.
Yeah. It is Texans.
Could be 3 rookie quarterbacks starting.
I would love to know. I mean, it's a shame Shane's not on. He's working. He's starting a new job, so he's working and all that. Unfortunately, we don't get paid to do this. If anyone wants to advertise us and give us enough for so we can earn at least $25,000 a year each, that'd be perfect. Because I'd love to know what he makes of. Because obviously Lamar is not really working too hard in Baltimore. Odell hasn't turned up yet as well to play. So I want to know.
No, Odell has been there, but he sat out today due to illness.
Okay. It just says Odell didn't participate in minicamp, so I thought, okay, what's going on there? I was reading that one.
He was there, but according to John Harbaugh, today he sat out due to illness.
Oh. Okay.
Fair enough. We'll let him off then. We let him off a couple of sniffles and all that. There is. What do you make about the Barkley situation? What is going on there? This is one that's really. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with Saquon Barkley because he's the go-to guy in New York.
Running backs just don't have the value that they should have.
Yeah. I think
McCaffrey is the highest paid running back at $16 million.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas he's just as integral to our offense as Debo, who's being paid, 26 this year?
Yeah.
The problem is running backs get hit a lot by, they are running into 2 banks of 600, 300-pound men.
A ton of meat.
Basically top speed. When running backs get a second deal, their second big contract, how many of them have gone on to go another 4 or 5 seasons at 1,000-yard rushing?
Yeah.
I can't think of many.
Yeah, but this is
There are
Saquon's
very few.
first. This is Saquon's first big contract.
Exactly. After their rookie deal. So they've had their rookie deal, their first big, their first big payday, unless they're like picked 8th overall, like BJ Robinson. They seem to fall off the bank very well because their body takes a lot of hits, a lot of hits. I mean, look at Saquon Barkley. He's had 2 knees. He's had a knee and an ankle injury.
Yeah.
And they weren't
Okay,
little
yes.
ones. They were like big injuries.
He blew out one season because of it.
Yeah.
I can see where the Giants are going, well, you've got injury history. There's a history of rookies, running backs after year 5 or year 6 really fall off the cliff because they do. There's very few running backs that go on to 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So I think I can see where Giants are going at, but I can see that what Saquon is going, well, hang on, I'm your go-to guy. I took us to the playoffs last year, whether you like it or not. I mean, we saw what he did in London. He was injured. And he came back in and still ran in for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And catched one. He was the best player on the pitch by an absolute mile that day. So you've just got to find someone to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
I think modern coaching. Sorry, go on, Ollie, and I'll say my bit.
I was just going to say, I do think that Saquon will be playing for New York this season, and it will be under the tag.
But, yeah.
I just think modern coaching has kind of devalued the running back position. Now we can talk about like Kyle Shanahan and even Mike McDaniels, or if we're talking earlier about like system players as well, like Bill, and even what's going on in KC. You got your mobile quarterbacks. You've got players like Debo who are traditionally wide receivers, but they've become this new hybrid position called wide backs. The position of being a running back has been massively devalued in the last, let's say, 5 to 7 years. Yeah. And because, running backs it's very rare that you ever see a running back. I think that was a big point in the draft this year, wasn't it? But a running back hasn't been taken in the first round for such a long time now because you can pick them up in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, quite cheap, disposable. I mean, it's horrible to say as human beings, but like they are disposable. And if one goes down, next man up, because there's always more to come. And the 49ers do that all the time. I mean, the amount of wide receivers that Kyle Shanahan has murdered, full-on murder by just having them run into walls of meat nearly every single play. Now, you've got Debo's evolved. I mean, getting Christian McCaffrey has been a godsend. We've had Elijah Mitchell, but we've also had Emmanuel Mosley. Not Emmanuel Mosley. Oh, God. Who's the one that we shipped off to Miami? Well, the 2 that we shipped off to Miami.
Mostert Wilson.
Yeah. So we've kind of like make them disposable. We can kind of pick them out of obscurity, sign them onto 1-2 year deals, and then trade them or release them elsewhere where they can get paid. And I just think it's just modern coaching that has devalued the position. But obviously, when you look at like Saquon Barkley, who is the number one reason, what's his name? Daniels must be thanking Saquon for getting him that contract because he carried that team onto his back. And he was the reason, I'm just going to say that, he is the reason why they were playing playoff football last year. Because the Giants had not been good for a long period of time. You take him out of that offense, you take him out of that team, or he's not performing or he's not producing, Giants don't do anything. Giants finish with a losing record or the middest record ever.
Yeah, because
so,
the Giants didn't have any like standout wide receivers last year, did they?
Exactly. So they were.
That was my point I was about to make.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't since Beckham, have they? They haven't. I mean, even in Beckham's downgrade years where he wasn't producing the same, like when we were starting getting injury prone before they fobbed him off onto Cleveland, he was not performing, but he was still their number one go-to guy. It sounds weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I think he'll be. Sorry, I won't interrupt after this point. Ollie, sorry. I think he'll still remain in New York. They'll tag him. But if he doesn't play, if he gets injured, or if they decide to trade him, Giants don't do anything. That was my claim. Giants don't do anything.
So, yeah, I completely agree. but okay, yes, they've got a couple of really good wide receivers in the draft now. Obviously, they've traded and brought in a couple as well, so that's a massive, massive, massive thing. So yeah, there is that as well. But yeah, he is their go-to guy, as you said. Yes, he is their best player on the pitch by an absolute mile. You have to look after it as well. But going to what you said about the running back is a killed, dying position. I think you are kind of right. Ever since the likes of the fullbacks, where it's literally the fullback powers the whole. Apart from Juice, how many fullbacks are in the league now?
I couldn't name another. I know Shane really likes the one in Baltimore, but I can't remember his name. But there aren't many.
Ever since that position died out, the running back position is still an important position because teams need to run the ball because it's how you open up the passing lanes. But it is difficult. I mean, you're going back to your point about running backs being picked up, really good running backs being picked up. Algier, who was a 1,100-yard rushing guy last year, who still didn't play his first 3 games of the season for Atlanta, was picked up in round 5.
And this guy's a baller.
Exactly. It's going to, it's an interesting scenario. Running backs are good. Another one's Josh Jacobs. He's another one who's on the tag. There's some interest. There's some running backs that could be moving around. I'm sure he's on the put on the tank by now.
I'm sure he got a new. I thought he got a new contract.
But yeah, it's a tricky situation. It really is. But yeah, I don't think we got any more to talk about minicamps. Actually, I think that was pretty much about it.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's been a quiet week.
Yeah, I mean, we have got our top 50 players coming up, which is the end of the month. I think it's about 2 weeks. We're going to drop the top 10. We've got that coming up in a few weeks. Just need people to send me their top 50 players, please.
Yeah, I'll get on to that.
I did that ages ago.
I know you have, and I have. It's just
all right, mate.
It's just the Baltimore, and well, I think Shane's actually struggling with his voice from download.
Probably.
That's what it is.
He's probably not sobered up yet. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, that's probably that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for tuning in. As always, this will stay on Facebook. Facebook and YouTube forever.
And Twitter.
And Twitter. It'll be dropped on Spotify tomorrow morning at 8:30. That's Friday, 8:30. For your indulgence, and we will be back 8:30 next Thursday. I almost said Friday then, for another full and exciting episode of the Third and Long podcast. Thank you very much, all. Stay safe.